The elegant chandelier sparkled above us as my sister Cora leaned across the white tablecloth with a smirk. I could feel the judgment in her eyes as she looked at my worn blazer. "Can you even afford to eat here?" she mocked loudly enough for nearby diners to hear. My cheeks burned with embarrassment until a waiter approached with a friendly smile. "Welcome back, Miss Dara. Would you like your usual table?" he asked. My dad nearly spit out his wine. Their confused expressions told me this dinner would reveal secrets none of us expected. Before we dive into this family drama, drop a comment telling me where you are watching from, and hit subscribe if you enjoy stories about unexpected family revelations. Growing up in Boston, I never imagined my relationship with my sister would become so strained. At 32 years old, I was finally building the career I wanted at a small tech startup. The work energized me despite the modest salary. Cora, 3 years younger, had always been the golden child in our family. Her apparent success in finance had only widened the gap between us. When my parents invited us both to dinner at Le Bernardin, one of the most exclusive restaurants in New York City, I hesitated. The place screamed luxury from its refined decor to its clientele dressed in designer clothes. Walking through those doors in my one decent blazer felt like entering a foreign country without a passport. 3 years, my mother had said on the phone. "It has been 3 whole years since we were all together. Please come." Her voice carried that familiar mix of hope and guilt that mothers perfect over decades. The moment I arrived at the restaurant, I spotted them at the reception area. My father stood tall in his tailored suit, my mother elegant in a navy dress. Then there was Cora, practically glowing in a red designer outfit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "You actually came," Cora said, looking me up and down. "And in that blazer, too. Bold choice." Her perfectly manicured hand gestured dismissively at my outfit. "Nice to see you, too," I replied, forcing a smile. My father gave me a quick handshake while my mother embraced me warmly. My career choice had always been a disappointment to my father. "Technology is fine," he would say, "but without an MBA, what ceiling are you really going to break?" Meanwhile, Cora supposedly had a corner office at 29. At least, that was the story. Childhood memories flooded back as we stood there. Every birthday, every holiday, the pattern was the same. Cora received the expensive gifts, while I got practical ones. "Your sister has expensive taste," my father would say with pride. "You are more reasonable." What he meant was that Cora deserved the best, and I should be grateful for less. The hostess was about to lead us to our table when the waiter approached with his surprising greeting, and suddenly everything changed. As we followed him to a corner table with the best view in the restaurant, I noticed the staff nodding respectfully to Cora. My parents exchanged glances, but Cora maintained perfect composure. "Is this satisfactory, miss?" Dara the waiter asked, as he pulled out her chair. "Perfect as always, Thomas," she replied casually. The familiarity was unmistakable. My father raised his eyebrows. "You come here often enough to have a usual table," Cora shrugged. "I entertain clients sometimes. This restaurant impresses the right people." My mother seemed impressed. "It must be going very well at your firm, then." As we settled in, I noticed the subtle looks of recognition from nearly every staff member. Something did not add up. The Cora I remembered from childhood saved every penny and calculated every expense. This new version, who frequented one of the most expensive restaurants in the city, was a stranger to me. The menus arrived leather-bound and intimidating without a single price listed. My stomach tightened. I had been saving for this dinner for weeks, but even then I knew this place would stretch my budget to breaking point. "Do not worry about ordering," my father said to me quietly. "This dinner is my treat." I should have felt relieved, but instead I felt like a child again. Across the table, Cora did not even open her menu. She simply smiled at Thomas and said, "I will start with the scallops, then the base. And bring a bottle of that Montrachet I enjoyed last week." Last week. The casual mention hung in the air. This was clearly more than occasional client entertainment. My father cleared his throat. "How often do you come here, Cora?" "Often enough," she replied with practiced nonchalance. "This business requires nurturing the right connections in the right places. I watched my parents beam with pride. Their daughter, the financial prodigy living the high life they had always imagined for their children. The disappointment when they looked at me was subtle but unmistakable. Throughout my life, I had tried to measure up to Cora, in school, in college, in career choices. But somehow, I was always one step behind. "Why can you not be more like your sister?" became the unofficial family motto. As Thomas poured an obscenely expensive wine, I caught him saying, "Lovely to see your family, miss. Dara, 2 years of coming here weekly, and this is the first time you have brought them. 2 years, weekly visits." The math did not add up with the story Cora had been telling the family about her busy travel schedule and rare visits to New York. My mother picked up on it too. 2 years. "But darling, you told us you were only transferred to the New York office 6 months ago." Cora shot Thomas a sharp look before smoothly responding, "I commuted before the official transfer. You know how demanding this industry is." But the first crack in her perfect facade had appeared, and I could not help but wonder what other secrets my sister was keeping. The luxurious environment of Le Bernardin surrounded us with its soft lighting and pristine white tablecloths. Each table was positioned for privacy, yet Cora somehow had the most secluded spot in the restaurant. The server poured water into crystal glasses with practiced precision, while Cora exchanged familiar nods with staff members. "So, this Montrachet, my father," said, examining the wine label. "It must be quite special if you order it regularly." "Only $300 a bottle," Cora replied casually. "Relatively reasonable for this place." My father nearly choked. For a man who still complained about $10 beers, this was astronomical. The sommelier approached with the wine, pouring a small amount for Cora to taste first. Not my father, the traditional recipient of this honor. She swirled it expertly, inhaled the aroma, and gave a satisfied nod. "Perfect as always, Julian," she said. "Nothing but the best for our favorite guest," he replied with a warm smile. As the wine was poured, Executive Chef Eric appeared tableside. Something I knew from my research was reserved for only the most valued patrons. "Miss Dara, wonderful to see you again," he said. "I have prepared the black truffle pasta you enjoy so much, though it is not on the menu tonight." "You spoil me." Cora laughed. My parents were visibly impressed while I grew increasingly confused. How did my sister, who had always been careful with money, afford this lifestyle on even a good finance salary? As Chef Eric departed, I excused myself to use the restroom. Walking through the dining room, I overheard 2 servers talking near the kitchen. "Miss Dara is here with family tonight," one said. "Better keep Alexander out of sight if he comes in." "No worries there," the other replied. "He called earlier to say he will be arriving late." Alexander. Who was Alexander? And why would his presence need to be hidden from us? When I returned to the table, Cora was checking her phone nervously. She excused herself moments later, clutching her purse as she hurried toward the entrance. Curious, I followed at a distance and overheard her urgent whisper into her phone. "No, not tonight, Alex. My family is here. Yes, the whole family. No, they do not know about us. Just give me 2 hours, please." She hung up and leaned against the wall, taking several deep breaths before composing herself and returning to the table. Her smile was back in place as if nothing had happened. Our appetizers arrived, each plate a work of art. Cora engaged our parents in conversation about their golf club membership, carefully avoiding any questions about her own life. I observed silently, piecing together the inconsistencies. Midway through dinner, the restaurant manager appeared at our table with a bottle of champagne. "Compliments of the house for Miss Dara and her lovely family," he announced. My father, never one to turn down anything free, was delighted. "You must be quite the valued customer, Cora." The manager beamed. "Indeed, she is practically family here now. 2 years of weekly visits will do that." My mother set down her fork. 2 years weekly. But your job has you traveling constantly. You told us you barely have time for dinner at home." Cora laughed nervously. "Felix exaggerates. And many of my visits are for quick lunches." Felix raised an eyebrow. "Quick lunches that last 3 hours with your regular companion. Hardly. Regular companion, my father inquired. Cora shot Felix a warning look. Just colleagues, Dad. Finance people work while we eat. While my parents seemed satisfied with this explanation, I was not. Standing up, I excused myself again and approached a wall near the entrance that I had noticed earlier, adorned with photographs of VIP guests. There, in a gleaming frame, was Cora in a stunning evening gown, arm in arm, with a distinguished-looking man at least 20 years her senior. The caption read, Alexander Moore and Cora Dara, New Year's Eve. I snapped a discreet photo with my phone and returned to the table where Cora was now fidgeting with her napkin. So I said, casually sliding into my chair. The wall of fame by the entrance is interesting. Lots of celebrities. Cora tensed visibly. Is it? I have never noticed. Really. Because you are on it. With someone named Alexander Moore. The color drained from her face as our parents turned to her in surprise. Who is Alexander Moore? My mother asked. Nobody, Cora replied quickly. Just the CEO where I work. We happened to be at the same event. My father narrowed his eyes. The CEO personally attends events with junior analysts. I told you, Cora snapped. I am not a junior analyst anymore. I have been promoted several times. To what position exactly? I pressed. Because every time we talk your title seems different. Are you trying to ruin this dinner? Cora hissed. Just because your life is a disappointment does not mean you get to attack mine. The table fell silent. The familiar pattern of Cora lashing out when cornered had not changed since childhood. I am not attacking you, I said calmly. I am just curious how you afford weekly dinners at one of the most expensive restaurants in New York, know the entire staff by name, and appear in photos with the CEO of your company. Some of us work hard and succeed, she retorted. And some of us tell the truth about our lives, I countered. Cora glared at me, but I could see fear behind her anger. Her carefully constructed facade was cracking, and for the first time in years, I felt I was finally seeing my real sister underneath. The tension at our table was interrupted by the maitre d' approaching with a respectful bow. Good evening. I hope everything is to your satisfaction. Excellent as always, Cora replied, visibly relieved by the interruption. The maitre d' smiled. Mr. Moore has just arrived. Shall I inform him you are with family tonight, or would you like him to join you? Cora froze her wineglass suspended halfway to her lips. He is here. Now, before she could respond further, a tall, distinguished man in an impeccable suit approached our table. His silver hair framed a confident face that I immediately recognized from the photo. Alexander Moore moved with the self-assurance of someone accustomed to command. The restaurant seemed quiet as he passed other diners nudging each other in recognition. Cora, darling, he said warmly. I thought I would surprise you. My father and mother stared in confusion as Alexander placed a gentle hand on Cora's shoulder. She looked like a deer caught in headlights. Alexander, she managed to say, these are my parents, James and Catherine Dara, and my brother. Wonderful to finally meet you, Alexander said, extending his hand to my father. Cora has told me so little about you. The emphasis on so little was subtle but unmistakable. My father shook his hand clearly, trying to process the situation. And you are, my mother began. Alexander Moore, CEO of Meridian Financial, and Cora's partner for the past 18 months. My parents looked stunned. I watched their expressions shift from confusion to shock as they processed this information. Partner, my father repeated. Cora has never mentioned you. Alexander raised an eyebrow, turning to Cora. Really? That is surprising considering we live together. The bomb had dropped. Cora sank lower in her chair as my parents struggled to comprehend this revelation. Live together, my mother echoed. But Cora, you told us you had a roommate named Alex in your apartment on East 75th Street. Alex is short for Alexander, Cora muttered, studying her plate intensely. Alexander seemed puzzled. East 75th. We live in my penthouse on Central Park West. Each revelation landed like another blow. I almost felt sorry for Cora, as her carefully constructed life of lies collapsed around her. But your position at Meridian, my father said, turning to Cora. You said you were a senior investment strategist. Alexander chuckled. Cora is my executive assistant. An excellent one, I might add, though she only joined the company 2 years ago. My mother set down her fork with a clatter. But your master's from Columbia Business School. I believe Cora attended some continuing education courses there, Alexander said, growing increasingly confused. But her undergraduate degree is from State. Is it not the State University that my parents had considered beneath them when I chose to attend it? The same school they had celebrated Cora for supposedly avoiding by getting into an Ivy League program. My father turned to Cora, his face flushed with anger and embarrassment. Have you been lying to us about everything? Cora stood abruptly, her napkin falling to the floor. Excuse me, she whispered, before rushing toward the exit. The table fell into uncomfortable silence. Alexander looked bewildered. I seem to have interrupted something significant. I apologize. My parents sat in stunned silence. My father's face had turned an alarming shade of red while my mother appeared on the verge of tears. I stood up. I should check on her. Let her go, my father said sternly. She has clearly been deceiving all of us. Which is exactly why I should talk to her, I replied, surprising myself with my defensiveness of Cora. Outside the restaurant, the cool evening air carried the sounds of traffic and distant conversations. I found Cora sitting on a bench in a small park across the street, her face buried in her hands. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs. Gone was the confident, successful woman she pretended to be. In her place sat my little sister, vulnerable and afraid. I sat beside her, saying nothing at first. The last time I had seen Cora cry was after she broke her arm falling from a tree when we were kids. Even then she had tried to hide her tears. You must be loving this, she finally said, not looking up. Perfect Cora finally exposed as a fraud. I am not loving this at all, I replied honestly, but I am wondering why you felt you needed to create such an elaborate lie. She looked up, mascara streaking her cheeks. Because being me was never good enough. Not for them. Not for anyone. The park was quiet aside from the distant hum of New York traffic and Cora's occasional sniffles. Under the soft glow of street lamps, she looked smaller, somehow stripped of the confident persona she had maintained for so long. When did it start? I asked gently. The lies, I mean. Cora wiped her eyes, careful not to smudge her makeup further. It was just small things at first. Exaggerating my position when Dad asked about work, pretending my apartment was nicer than it actually was. And then I met Alexander. She sighed. I was temping at his company after my third job fell through. Nothing fancy, just answering phones at reception. He took an interest in me, promoted me to his assistant, and eventually we started dating. I nodded, letting her continue. He was generous, successful, everything Dad always wanted for us. When you stopped coming home for holidays, it got worse. All their expectations landed on me. Every conversation with Mom and Dad was about achievement, success status. So you became what they wanted you to be, I said, understanding, dawning. I became what I thought would make them proud, she corrected. The irony is, I was never happier than when I was taking art classes at State before I dropped out to pursue the sensible business path they pushed me toward. Her confession startled me. You dropped out. They told me you graduated with honors. Another lie. I left after sophomore year. Could not stand it anymore. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. Do you know what it is like living with their constant comparison? Why can you not be more focused like your brother was? Then, when you chose your own path, it became, do not disappoint us like your brother did. The revelation hit me hard. All this time I had thought I was the only one suffering under our parents' expectations. I had no idea, I admitted. I always thought you were the golden child who could do no wrong. Cora laughed bitterly. And I thought you were the brave one who had the courage to follow your own path despite their disapproval. We sat in silence for a moment, two strangers who had grown up in the same house, each envying what we thought the other had. Remember how we used to build forts in the backyard? I asked suddenly. A small smile appeared on her face. You always made sure mine was just as good as yours, even though you were better at it. And you always shared your Halloween candy with me, even after I came home with less than you. The memories of our childhood solidarity hung between us, a reminder of what had been lost over years of competition and resentment. I am so tired, Jason Cora whispered, using my name for the first time that night. Tired of pretending to be someone I am not. Tired of living someone else's life. Then stop, I said simply. She looked at me incredulously. Just like that. Throw away everything. What exactly would you be throwing away? A relationship where you have to hide your family. A job that does not fulfill you. Parents' approval based on lies. Cora was quiet, considering my words. What about you? How did you find the courage to disappoint them? I laughed. I did not see it as courage at the time. I just knew I could not live for their approval anymore. The day I realized that their disappointment hurt less than my own disappointment in myself was the day I started actually living. And now? Are you happy with your little startup and your worn blazer? There was no mockery in her question this time. Only genuine curiosity. I am, I said truthfully. My work matters to me. The people I work with respect me for my ideas, not my title. And at the end of the day, I can look in the mirror and recognize the person looking back. Cora nodded slowly, wiping away the last of her tears. I used to paint, you know. Before business school became the goal, I was actually pretty good. I remember I said, "Your watercolor of the lake house still hangs in my apartment." Her eyes widened in surprise. You kept that? Of course I did. It was the last authentic thing you gave me before we grew apart. A comfortable silence fell between us, the first in many years. In that moment, we were not the successful sister and the disappointing brother. We were just two people who had taken different paths, each with their own struggles and triumphs. What do we do now? Cora finally asked. About them. She nodded toward the restaurant where our parents and Alexander were presumably still sitting in awkward silence. We go back in there and face the music, I said. Together this time. She took a deep breath and nodded. I am going to need to make some changes. Big ones, I agreed. But maybe for the first time they will be your changes, not theirs. As we walked back toward the restaurant, Cora hesitated. I am sorry, you know. For all of it. For the way I treated you tonight. For the things I said over the years. I know, I replied. I am sorry, too. For not seeing that you were struggling just as much as I was, just in a different way. What happened that night at Le Bernardin was uncomfortable, messy, and long overdue. Alexander, to his credit, seemed more confused than angry about Cora's deception. Our parents cycled through shock, anger, and eventually a reluctant understanding. The fancy dinner ended with simple truths instead of elaborate desserts. 6 months later, Cora and I met at a small cafe in Brooklyn, far from the opulence of Le Bernardin. She looked different, more relaxed in jeans, and a casual sweater, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. I signed the lease yesterday, she announced, sliding a key across the table to me. Will you help me move in this weekend? The key belonged to a small studio space where Cora planned to teach art classes and work on her own paintings. After breaking up with Alexander amicably to everyone's surprise and moving into a modest apartment in Brooklyn, she had enrolled in art classes and rediscovered her passion. Of course, I replied. The whole startup team wants to help. They are excited to meet the sister I have told them so much about. She smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. And Mom and Dad still adjusting, I admitted. But they are trying. Dad asked about your art show last week and he seemed genuinely interested. Small steps, Cora nodded. The following weekend, our parents joined us at the studio. My father looked out of place carrying boxes of art supplies, but he worked without complaint. My mother arranged a small area for visitors, periodically stopping to admire Cora's canvases. As we took a break for lunch, sitting on folding chairs with takeout containers on our laps, I looked around at my family. We were far from perfect, still learning how to communicate honestly, still unlearning decades of unhealthy patterns. But for the first time in years, we were authentic with each other. This is nice, my father said unexpectedly. Different but nice. Cora and I exchanged glances, a silent acknowledgement of how far we had all come. Success looks different for everyone. For some, it is a corner office and a luxury lifestyle. For others, it is the freedom to pursue passion over prestige. The true measure of success is not found in external validation or material wealth, but in the courage to live authentically even when that path disappoints others. My sister had to lose everything she thought she wanted to find what she truly needed. And in that process, our family found each other again, not as the perfect images we tried to project, but as the flawed, complex, and genuine people we actually are. Have you ever felt pressured to be someone you are not to please others? How did you find the courage to live authentically? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more stories about family revelations and personal growth. Remember, the only approval that truly matters is the one you see in the mirror every morning. Thank you for listening, and may you find the courage to be unapologetically yourself.